Hello and welcome, my dear YouTube companions. Welcome to the terrifying world of US Frights. Perhaps you're wondering, what exactly is US Frights? Well, my friends, I promise you that here, with every story, you'll feel as if everything is happening right before your eyes. This is the place where the secrets of darkness speak, where mysterious powers and wandering spirits are closer than you can imagine. And yes, if you like these stories, then do subscribe to US Frights. Because with your support, we can continue this terrifying journey. So come on, without wasting any more of your time, let's head towards those stories that begin as day turns to dusk and after darkness descends. Hey everyone, my name is Michael and I live in Dallas, Texas. I'm a truck driver by trade. Today, I want to tell you all about a horrific and terrifying incident that occurred during one of my hauls. I was driving my truck back from a job in Southern California. The road I was on was pretty deserted, and evening had already fallen. This was an old, desolate stretch of Route 66, somewhere deep in Arizona. In the glow of my headlights, I saw a child, maybe about 10 years old, standing and signaling for me to stop. At first, I was surprised. Who would this kid be? I do believe in ghosts and spirits, but the way he was flagging down my truck, I figured maybe there was real trouble. So I pulled over and looking at him asked, "Yes, son, what's the matter?" He said, "Mister, please come down." Saying this, he started to cry. Seeing his distress, I hesitated for a moment, then got out and went to him. He cried and said that his grandmother was very ill, that she was in bad shape. If I could take them both to the next town, he could get his grandmother to a hospital. There was so much innocence in the child's voice that I believed him instantly and said, "Okay, son, where is your grandmother?" And I walked with him. As we walked, I felt as if someone was walking right behind us. I looked back nervously, but seeing no one, I didn't pay much attention. Then I heard the sound of hurried footsteps again, and I looked all around, but still saw no one. I figured it must be my imagination. Thinking this, I continued walking with the child and asked, "Son, where is your grandmother?" He suddenly stared at me in a strange way, and then crying pointed forward. There I saw an old house. It was completely dark all around, but in the faint moonlight, I could just make out the house. I walked with the child towards it. When I reached the house, a terrible odor hit me. A strange suffocation. I felt like I shouldn't have come here. Before I could process this, the child stared at me and said, "Come on in, mister." I followed him inside. The house was eerily silent. Cobwebs hung everywhere. Dust and dirt covered everything, and that horrible stench lingered. It looked as if no one had entered this house for years. Seeing this, I asked, "Where is your grandmother, son?" He pointed towards a room and then, turning to me, said in a strange, terrifying voice, "There." His voice made me a little uneasy. I looked at him and he just kept pointing. I walked towards the room. I don't know why, but I felt like I shouldn't open that door. I should just leave. As I stood there thinking, I heard a coughing sound from inside, like an old woman. Hearing this, I thought she must be in there. As soon as I opened the door, a horrible stench and a rush of air, like a flock of bats, flew past me. I was startled. Just then, the child said, "Mister, please sit here. I'll bring my grandmother in a moment." Before I could say anything, he repeated, "Sit down, mister." This surprised me. I had heard a woman coughing in this room. Where was he going to bring her from? Reluctantly, I went inside that room. It was silent. I turned on my flashlight. Dust and dirt covered the whole room. I thought, this house looks like it's been closed for years. But then I reminded myself his grandmother was very ill, and he was just an innocent child, so the house must be in this condition. But I heard that cough right here. Maybe I was mistaken and the old woman was in the next room. Thinking this, I went into the adjoining room. There was a chair covered in a thick layer of dust. I quickly cleaned it and sat down. As soon as I sat, I shone my flashlight forward and my eyes widened in terror. In front of me stood a terrifying old woman. My breath caught in my throat. Just then, a sound came from behind, and I nervously looked back, but there was no one. I looked forward again, but now I couldn't see anything. I started to think I was hallucinating. Just then I heard a strange, low chanting. As soon as it began, the windows and doors of the room started opening and closing, making loud noises. I was astonished and nervous. I felt the sound was coming from outside. Gathering my courage, I got up and saw an ancient, very aged woman. She was carrying a lantern and humming something as she passed by. Maybe this is the child's grandmother, I thought. I looked at her and said, "Excuse me," but she didn't answer. I went behind her and said again, "Excuse me, please wait." But she went inside another room. I followed. What I saw there made my blood run cold. The room was filled with strange idols. In front of them on the ground were bizarre items, what looked like black magic tools, bones, and other strange things. I couldn't understand anything. Before I could, the old woman started singing in that strange, eerie voice. Then she stared at me and my heart jumped into my throat. She was terrifying. Her entire face was deathly pale. Her pupils were white and she had dark circles under her eyes. She did not look like a living person but a ghostly spirit, and my feeling was absolutely correct. She gave me a terrifying smile. Then I remembered the old woman I'd seen in the first room was this very one. Just seeing her made me panic. Then the child came in calling, "Grandma!" The child, who had seemed normal a while ago, now looked much more terrifying. He was also completely pale like her, with dark circles and a strange look. He started shaking his head oddly, looking at me and said in a terrifying voice, "Mister, this is my grandma." His voice sounded as if many people were speaking with him. The old woman started muttering something in a strange language I couldn't understand. Seeing this, I was truly scared and realized that this was wrong. Thinking this, I tried to run, but a strong gust of wind suddenly closed the door and the entire room went dark. My flashlight had broken. I started trembling and nervously tried to fix it, but it wouldn't work. Then I heard that same strange chanting throughout the room. I started running around, but I couldn't see any way out. Terrifying screams began to echo. It was as if many people were screaming at once, and a green light started shining from the eyes of the horrifying idol in front of me. I stumbled and fell, hurting my foot. I was screaming, but no one could hear me in that desolate place. I was so scared. Then as I tried my flashlight one last time, it suddenly came on. What I saw made my heart leap. Very close to me, the same old woman and child were standing right in front of my eyes. They were smiling strangely. Their feet were not touching the ground. They seemed to be hovering. I started trembling and backed away. They began to move forward. The woman started chanting again, and I screamed, trying to run and open the door. The door opened, but I couldn't see the way out. All the windows and doors were making loud noises as the old woman kept singing. Then I saw an open doorway to one side. I thought it might be the exit. As I started to go in that direction, I saw the same old woman and child standing there. I got very scared. As they moved towards me, I stumbled and fell, crawling backward to save myself. Suddenly, I hit a door which flew open, and I fell into a room. My flashlight dropped. I felt something strange. The child and the old woman started coming in my direction, chanting. I tried to get up, but my hands and feet were stiff. I ran backward nervously and then stumbled again, falling into a pile of something. Everything felt bizarre. My gaze fell towards a corner. There was that same strange idol, and now a green light emanated from its eyes. I looked around the room, and my breath caught in my throat. I felt like I would faint, because on the pile where I had fallen, there were heaps of bones and skeletons. My heart raced. Oh my God, what am I seeing? Just then, the child and the old woman started smiling strangely. I realized that, like me, they must have made countless people their victims, and all their skeletons were lying here. I kept looking in that direction, trembling uncontrollably. I felt like I wouldn't survive. In these two, the grandmother and grandson, I saw my death. Then as the old woman extended her hand towards me, I felt I would faint. My condition was indescribable. I wondered if it was a terrifying dream or if this was really happening. The fear was so intense that my eyes felt like closing. Just then, the old woman started screaming horribly, and then looking at me, she picked me up and threw me aside. I trembled and tried to run. But before I could, the old woman took a large sword in her hand and advanced towards me. She looked even more terrifying now. Blood, not saliva, was dripping from her mouth. I started running here and there to save myself, then stumbled and fell again. I understood I wouldn't survive. Still trying to save myself, I grabbed whatever garbage, stones, or whatever items were lying there and threw them at them, screaming like crazy. I was frantic, but the old woman and the child kept advancing. It seemed they took pleasure in my pain. The more I screamed, the more they laughed. When they came very close, I knew this was the end. At that moment, I realized one of my work boots had fallen off. I picked up the remaining boot, ready to throw it at them, and as I did, they both flinched nervously and backed away. I was surprised. I nervously looked at the boot and holding the inverted boot as I started to move towards them. Both of them looked back and started running away. I didn't understand why, but I knew as long as I had this boot, they wouldn't come near me. So holding that boot in my hand, I started running out of there. The door opened instantly, and I kept running. I could hear hurried footsteps alongside me, but no one was visible. My heart was pounding. Due to the fear, I didn't dare turn back to look at that house again. Just then, a terrifying voice echoed in my ears, a loud, angry scream. I knew the old woman and her grandson were trying to scare me. But I didn't stop. I kept running like a madman to save my life. As I sped away, I saw the old woman and her grandson standing by the side of the road. But I nervously turned my gaze to the other side, not wanting to look in that direction. Speeding in my truck, I kept going until I reached the nearby town. Even seeing the crowd, I was scared, remembering everything. It was late at night, and as much as I was exhausted, I was also terrified. I couldn't travel at night anymore. I stopped my truck in front of a diner and went inside. Seeing me so nervous, the diner owner asked, "What happened, man? Did you get chased by thieves or something? You look pale." I couldn't say anything due to fear. He brought me water. With trembling hands, I couldn't even hold the glass. Those images kept flashing in my mind. The man said, "Hey man, are you okay?" I came out of my thoughts and nervously said yes. I took the glass, but the memories flooded back, and I started trembling uncontrollably. The owner looked at me and said, "Don't be nervous. We're here with you. If there's anything, tell me." He sat next to me. I gathered my courage and told him everything. Hearing this, the man became worried. Then he told me that the old woman and child I saw were both dead. He said they had lived in that house. The old woman's son and daughter-in-law had died, and she lived with her grandson. Everyone in the area called her a witch. People were terrified of her, and if she was seen, they would nervously hide. People claimed she practiced black magic and had killed her own son and daughter-in-law. No one knew the truth, but their headless bodies were found in a nearby well. Some said it was robbers, but the villagers believed the little boy, after his parents' death, had become like his grandmother. That's why he would lure passers-by to the house where his grandmother, the witch, would sacrifice them. People stopped going near their fields for fear of her. This fear had spread to neighboring areas. The villagers had wanted to get rid of her, but no one had the courage to confront her, fearing a terrible calamity. Slowly, days passed. Then, one day, both the grandmother and grandson died in that house. No one had seen them for a long time. The villagers were relieved when a local priest confirmed that they were no longer in this world. The priest told them that one night when the old woman was cooking, she couldn't see in the dark, and some poisonous insect died in her food, killing both of them. The villagers felt no grief. They were finally rid of them. But the priest told them not to be too happy. They are dead, but they have not left. Your troubles have increased. He explained that their souls had not found peace. A witch does not die even after death. Now hearing this, the villagers were terrified and asked what to do. The priest said, "When she was alive, we could not stop her from coming into the house, but now we can. To stop evil spirits, everyone should hang an inverted boot or shoe outside their house, because an inverted shoe will not let a witch or any evil power enter the house." The villagers did this, but some scoffed. Slowly, a few days passed, and people thought the witch wouldn't return. But from the houses of those who didn't believe, animals and even a 1-month-old child disappeared. Everyone was scared and hung an inverted shoe. The witch didn't go into the village, but she still needed to increase her power. She and her grandson started doing what they did while alive. The grandson would lure people and the grandmother would sacrifice them. Daily incidents started happening on that road. Strangers didn't know anything, so such incidents were heard daily. People who knew stopped their trucks, stopped their cars, or avoided that road. The few who dared to go there would first show an inverted shoe and then approach the child. If the child ran away nervously, it was the spirit. If not, it was someone in need. You were lucky that your life was saved, the diner owner said. Otherwise, anything could have happened to you. Whenever you travel at night, don't take this road, take another route. In the evening or at night, if anyone asks you to stop the truck for help, first show them your inverted boot and approach them holding it. If it is an evil spirit, it will nervously back away. If it is actually a helpless person asking for help, they will not be scared at all. The diner owner finished explaining to me. Hearing this, I couldn't say anything, trembling. I was too nervous to eat. The owner urged me to eat something before morning travel. I ordered food, trying to ignore those things, but I had seen my death up close. I somehow managed to eat a little, trembling nervously. I was too scared to travel at night. I decided to stay there and went to a small room where truckers often stayed. I tried to sleep, but the nervousness kept me awake. I was thinking that holding the boot was a chance action that saved my life. Otherwise, the same thing would have happened to me. My skeleton would be in that room, and my family wouldn't know what happened to me. Finally, exhaustion took over, and I fell asleep. As I slept, I started hearing that same strange chanting. I woke up nervously. I looked around, but I couldn't see anything, but I could clearly hear that singing. I was trembling when the room window suddenly opened with a loud bang, and a strong, cold gust of wind came in, and the chanting grew louder. Before I could understand, someone grabbed my throat and threw me aside. I was terrified. Then I started hearing the terrifying laughter of that witch and her grandson. They weren't visible, but their laughter echoed throughout the room. As I got up to run, someone grabbed my foot and pulled me down, and I fell face down. Someone strongly grabbed my hair and slammed my head against the ground. I had a severe head injury. Before I could do anything, I was being mercilessly beaten. I was hit here then there. I ran, but I couldn't save myself. Laughter and screams surrounded me. Just then I remembered that I had kept a boot under my bed. As I fell near the bed, I grabbed the boot and pointed it towards the direction from which the screams were coming. Someone slapped me hard. I realized I hadn't held the boot upside down. I nervously started moving around the entire room, holding the boot upside down. Suddenly, more terrifying screams erupted. I saw the old woman and child standing in a corner of the room. Both were trying to get close to me in anger, but seeing the boot, they couldn't. I started screaming loudly. Hearing my screams, the diner owner came running. As soon as he opened the door, the grandmother and grandson turned into black smoke and vanished through the window, which slammed shut. I was utterly shaken. The diner owner helped me up, worried. "Did something happen, man? A bad dream?" I was too scared to speak. He gave me water and then asked what had happened. I told him everything. He became worried and took me to his own room. I slept on another cot with him. I couldn't sleep. The owner said, "Don't worry, man. There are pictures of the saints in this room. Look, there's also that small cross on the wall where I pray every day. They won't be able to come here." Hearing this, I looked at the walls, where pictures of various Christian figures were hung. I felt a little relieved. I closed my eyes, but those same thoughts came back. I kept thinking I was hearing the voice. I opened my eyes. The owner soon fell asleep, but I couldn't. As I tossed and turned, my gaze went to the window. My breath caught. That witch was standing on the other side, smiling strangely at me. Blood seemed to be dripping from her mouth. Her grandson was next to her. She started screaming strangely and began to extend her hand towards me. Her hand looked terrifying, long nails and rotten and decaying skin. I was trembling, and no sound would come out. I was just praying. The witch had only come a little into the room when she suddenly seemed to receive an electric shock and pulled her hand back. In front of her hand were the pictures of the saints and the cross. The witch started screaming at me in anger, but she didn't dare put her hand back in. Seeing her suffering, I looked at the images and silently thanked God. I looked at the window, and both the grandmother and grandson were shaking their heads strangely, becoming terrifying. I widened my eyes in terror. With great difficulty, I reached out and woke the diner owner. Before he fully woke up, both the grandmother and grandson had disappeared. He asked what happened, but I just kept looking at the window. He played some soothing gospel music on his mobile and said, "Nothing like this will happen now. Go to sleep." I looked at him and closed my eyes. I kept praying silently, and in a short while I fell asleep. Nothing more happened to me. Slowly, that night passed. In the morning, I woke up at 4:30 a.m. very scared. I didn't want to go anywhere. At 6 a.m., when it was fully bright, I came out of the room and had coffee. But that witch won't leave you so easily. You need to leave quickly and go talk to a local priest or a spiritual healer. Only he can tell you a solution to get rid of these spirits. Another man at the diner added, "He's right. If she can't sacrifice you, she will try to scare you so much that you'll just give up your life. You were lucky your life was saved, but getting rid of that witch isn't easy. If you ever come on this road again, be careful." Hearing this, I took my truck and left. It was bright and there were many people on the road. But even in the daylight, I was very scared. I was in a hurry to reach home. When I got home, it was evening. My family was happy to see me. Seeing me scared, my old mother asked, "What happened, son?" I didn't want to worry them, so I said, "Nothing, I'm just very tired." I ate a little food in front of them. Later, my wife came to the room. Seeing me worried, she asked, "What's the matter?" I didn't want to tell her, but she insisted, "You can lie to everyone, but not to me. You are in some trouble." "Tell me!" I couldn't say anything. My wife was very supportive. We had been married for 20 years with no children. My mother lived with us. When my wife asked what had happened, I finally told her everything. She also got very scared. "Don't worry, everything will be fine," I said. She looked at me and said, "Tomorrow morning, as soon as it's light, we will go to a priest here." I nervously agreed. It was hard to spend a single moment at night. After eating, we both went to sleep. I was very tired, so I fell asleep next to my wife, thinking nothing bad would happen at home. But at midnight, I started hearing that singing voice again. I tried to open my eyes, but I couldn't. I was trying to scream, but someone had grabbed my throat. I saw that same ruined house, the old woman, and the child before my eyes. I started trembling. That terrifying laughter echoed, and the weight on my chest increased. Someone was sitting on my chest, screaming and laughing. I couldn't speak or open my eyes. I was thrashing, but the old woman seemed to be taking my life. The chanting grew louder, and someone pressed my throat so hard that my breath faltered. Just then, I heard the sound of a praise hymn or a powerful prayer. Suddenly, I heard the witch's terrifying, painful scream, and then everything became calm. The weight was gone. Hearing the hymn, I felt a sense of peace. I opened my eyes and saw my wife nervously trying to wake me up. She had played the hymn on her mobile. I couldn't say anything in fear. She gave me water, but I was so scared that the glass slipped. My wife told me that when I was thrashing, she woke up, tried to wake me, but couldn't. She understood and immediately played the hymn on her mobile. Hearing this, I looked at my wife, who had saved my life with her quick thinking. Now my wife said, "Don't worry, God is with us. Nothing wrong will happen. You go to sleep." But I was even scared to close my eyes. Neither of us could sleep. We spent the whole night playing the hymn on our mobile. At dawn, we left the house, saying we were going to church. We reached the church. We stayed there for a long time. The temple gave me a lot of peace. By noon, we went and paid our respects to the pastor or spiritual advisor. When my wife told him everything, he was surprised. "Don't worry, God will protect both of you." He looked at me and said, "She is the soul of a witch who, even after death, is doing all this to increase her powers and bring herself back to life. Your luck was with you that you pointed the boot at her, and then your life was saved because of the diner owner's devotion. Otherwise, anything could have happened." He continued, "And what happened last night could have been fatal. The witch came to kill you, but your wife acted wisely and saved your life. But luck is not always kind." Now I was very scared. The pastor said, "Don't worry. He tied a blessed cord on both our hands and said that after going home to bring peace to the house and get rid of evil spirits, along with a house blessing, also get a 24-hour scripture recitation done. Everything will be fine, and yes, until the next new moon, never pass through that road at night. Hearing this, we got very scared. We talked to him about some other things and came home. I didn't tell my mother anything. That night, both of us were so nervous that we couldn't sleep. The hymn was always playing on our mobile. The evil spirit did not appear. Somehow, that night passed with great difficulty. The next day, as soon as it was morning, we started the scripture recitation and performed a house blessing. That night I was very tired and fell asleep at midnight. I had no bad dreams, nor did anything scary appear. Slowly my fear also started to lessen a bit. Days passed, and nothing scary happened to me. But yes, after this incident, I stopped traveling long distances at night. Now I only drive the truck during the day. If I go on a long journey, I plan my stay before evening falls. This incident had left such an impression on my mind that even today, sometimes in my dreams, I hear that same strange chanting. It feels as if that witch and her grandson are trying to call me towards that ruin. As soon as I feel this, my sleep breaks nervously. And then, until I play the hymn on my mobile and keep it with me, I cannot sleep. My fellow truckers also heard my story and believed me, stopping night travel. Some had even experienced something similar. They always advised me that before a long journey, I should keep a powerful hymn or prayer with me and wear a religious locket so that no evil power will come near us. Therefore, so that nothing wrong happens to us, I want to tell you all that if you ever go anywhere at night and someone asks you to stop, be cautious. I am not saying that there are ghosts and spirits everywhere, but stopping the vehicle at night in an unknown place increases many other types of dangers for us: robbery, murder, and worse. So if we stop the vehicle at night, be a little cautious. Our life is not just ours, it belongs to our family. Today, I am also forced to think that if something had happened to me, what would have happened to my mother and my wife? When a lot of time passed and no incident happened to me, only then did my wife breathe a sigh of relief. But still, whenever I go on a journey, she worries a lot about me and prays constantly for my safety. After all, one's family, one's home is one's own. When I return from my work and see my family, I feel relieved. So friends, this was our story for today. Please tell me how you like the story by commenting in the comment box.